it for any occasion. So keep patting down, waiting, comics and conversation. Keep the conversation moving along. Keep reading comics, keep your local store strong. If it's hard, then it's a job for the challengers. Comics and conversation, y'all.
From Challengers Comics and Conversation in Chicago, this is Contest of Challengers, a comics industry business podcast with Patrick Brower and W. Dale Bush.
Okay, so if 911 is emergency,
Yes.
411 is information,
Yes.
311 is city services,
Yes.
and a weird, like, punk ska band from the 90s.
Yeah. 311, I think they went back.
Okay. What's 611?
I don't know.
The number of this episode.
Oh!
Contest Challengers number 611. It's not often I have a very, very witty thing to say about the number of the episode. The last one, as you recall, was 606.
I usually don't even know what the episode number is, so
That's fair.
That's why I was able to play along so well.
That's half the time you don't even know you're recording the episodes.
No, that's true.
Now, if you do recall, not you,
Okay, good.
the listener, at the end of last week's episode, we were on our way to an art exhibit, and we said we would either talk about it on that episode immediately or wait a week and talk about it on the next episode. Guess which one we did?
It was the second one.
That's right.
Yep.
So we were at the Excelsior Art Show at the Blockhouse Gallery, all the way south on 111th Street, around there. I do not know the name of the neighborhood, even though it's been pointed out to me multiple times. And we had a fun time.
Yeah, I liked the show. I thought it was really well done.
It was a gentleman named Kyle who put it all together, who curated it, and Kyle-ish Gambino on the internet.
It's a good handle.
Who, to be fair, there's like 8 Kyle-ish Gambinos, and they're all like Kyle-ish dash Gambino,
Sure.
Kyle-ish underscore Gambino.
It's still good.
Kyle-ish, he's Kyle-ish underscore Gambino.
Got it.
Yeah. And he wasn't even in the show, but and it was a pretty busy art show weekend. A lot of the same people who were in that show on Friday had an opening the next day.
Wow, okay.
And there have been more and more, a lot of art shows nowadays.
Good.
At the same time, our good friends over at Toy Du Jour had a Nugget art show based off of Chicken McNuggets.
Yes, we have a poster up, I think.
That went apparently very, very well. But back to Excelsior,
Yes.
The premise was each artist had to pick a character, and there could be no duplicates.
Okay.
And do you remember, like, roughly, not remember because we didn't know, but roughly how many people you think were exhibiting?
I'd probably say around 20.
I was going to say 20 as well.
Yeah, around.
And it was a fun space because they had Marvel Capcom cabinet,
Yes.
not Marvel Capcom 2 like you have.
No. Classic Marvel versus Capcom.
And they had a bunch of comic book decorations and comic books, and Kyle had brought in very important books to him from his collection that were locked in a glass table.
Sure. Some he had out on the shelf, like he had the Prestige format JLA Avengers 1 through 4.
Yeah. Which you thought it was pretty bold of him to
I did.
have out. He had some stuff signed by Chris Claremont, and so we did a lap of the show, and the characters represented were Miles Morales and Daredevil and Nightcrawler and
Iron Man, Galactus.
X-Men.
Yeah.
Yeah.
A
Regular
wide
Spider-Man.
variety of characters that meant things to the artists.
Yeah. And there were some curveballs, like in Eternal.
Fastos, yes.
Yeah. But well done.
Uh-huh. Oh, yeah. Good
And
piece.
the art ranged from anywhere.
Sunspot.
Yeah,
Sunspot
Sunspot.
was an
Sure.
choice.
The art ranged from anywhere between pen and ink on paper to like a wood disc, like a thick, like a small, like end tabletop, like this table that the microphone is on,
Yes.
or canvas or mixed media, like all different mediums, which is great. Steve Seeley did 3 different Daredevils. It was a specific Daredevil cover where he's just on his hands and knees, hands over his ears, saying, "Please make it stop," on a white background. So Steve painted in a bunch of things around on the actual covers.
Yeah. Like people dancing. Like if
Like
it was
The
like
Simpsons or
Simpsons or SpongeBob. Yeah.
Yeah.
It was a good triptych, yes.
Yeah, it was a good gag, too. But yeah, it was a lot of the artists were there. We got to talk to several of them
Yeah.
and like ask the basic questions of why Fastos?
For example.
Yeah. And it was neat to find out, like, oh, they didn't know anything about the Eternals till the movie, but they really loved it. Great.
Sure.
And I think that's one of the best parts of movies, especially with lesser-known characters, where they can really be presented to the cultural mindset as a thing, and it becomes a thing.
Yeah, I mean, it helps when you have an actor like Brian Tyree Henry who's just really good and watchable in anything.
Yeah.
Like, I wonder if people's reaction wasn't so much like, Fastos is a really interesting character, so much as like, boy, Brian Tyree Henry is really fun to watch. I like whatever he's doing.
But look at the Guardians of the Galaxy. Who knew them?
Sure.
What non-comic fans knew of them?
Pretty ridiculous.
And I wound up buying a piece.
Mm-hmm.
It was a piece that we got to see a sneak peek of a week early. The organizers of the show, the people behind the space, not Kyle, who was the curator.
Right.
I could be a curator. I could be the curator.
Mm-hmm.
It's November. I can get Doctor Who references in.
Who knows?
Hey. So they happened to, and forgive me if I just told the story a week or two ago, but they happened to stop by Challengers on a Saturday when it was me and Samantha working, and they were looking for stuff to put out for the show, specifically representing the characters that were subjects of the art show. And right as they were wrapping everything up with their purchases and everything, they had said, "Oh, we've got some of the art in the car. Do you want to see it?" So they brought some pieces in, like the small boy painting with a broken Spider-Man action figure.
Oh, okay, yeah.
And the Nightcrawler piece. And I thought the Nightcrawler piece was pretty great. And I'd said, wow, this reminds me of like Jenny Frison style art. Mm-hmm. That's when they said, oh, her husband is in the show. I'm like, oh, that's cool. And then Sam had said, oh, yeah, I saw his stuff. I saw those pieces, those Daredevil pieces on his Instagram. I just didn't realize it was for this show.
Right.
And the Nightcrawler piece was on a banner. Like it could be like a scroll almost, could be rolled up with wood at the top and the bottom.
Yeah.
And I had suggested that it could be hung either right side up or upside down. And then Steve David suggested it could be even like him laying down. It could be horizontal.
I guess, sure.
Sure.
Yes, okay.
So anyway, that piece was available and within my art budget. And I will say that the prices for these pieces ranged all across the board, which is absolutely fine. You know what you put into it. Yeah. You know what you want to get out of it. Sure. You know what your art is worth. We never, ever tell an artist, like, hey, you're charging too much for your art.
Right. Sometimes we'll tell them you're charging too little.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
That's the thing that we've done before.
Yeah. And I
want to say when Maria Wolf was in one time, she was talking about what she was charging for, like, this was maybe a year ago, and she was talking about, like, what she was charging for sketches and remark covers and stuff, and we were like, oh, God, no, more. Charge so much more.
I have an original Wolf illustration. It wasn't a comic cover, but it was an Indigenous art show, a fundraiser. Yeah. That Jim Terry from Come Home Indio had.
And West of Sundown.
And West of Sundown, yes, had curated. It was at the Revolution Gallery years ago, and it was a big handprint. And inside the handprint was like a bloody buffalo, and the words "No DAPL" scrawled. Did you say DAPL or just DAPL?
I usually say DAPL, but
okay,
I
mean,
no
DAPL.
Thankfully, we don't have to talk about it anymore because it did not happen.
Yes, but it was a fundraiser
after years of protest
for that. So I have that piece before I even honestly knew who Wolf was. I was like, "Whoa, that piece is great."
Yeah, it really is. It's a
and
striking
then
image.
Years later, when I'm like, hey, I bought that piece, she's like, yeah, I never got a chance to photograph it. I'm like, well, I can photograph it for you. It's hanging up in my home.
It's easy.
So yeah, that's an example of someone who was definitely undercharging. But this Nightcrawler piece, Jetty, and that is that's their artist's nickname. Like it's part of her full name, but I don't have anything written down in front of me, so I'm a horrible podcaster because I don't have all my information.
Oops.
Laid out, but I was told by Mike Love, who knows Jetty, that they go by Jetty. Okay. So
great.
Yeah, and it was, like I said, within my budget. So,
do you know how long the art show is going on for?
6 weeks.
So people can still check it out.
Yeah, it's 5 more weeks from now.
Yeah, called Excelsior, and it's at Blockhouse.
Blockhouse Gallery. Yeah. Jokingly, when the organizers had brought it in to show us, and I think I mentioned this before, I'm like, oh, thank you. I appreciate you bringing this for me to have. I get to keep this now, right?
Yes.
I mean, I guess you could borrow it for the show. But anyway, when I got to the show, I got to be all, I'm here for my Nightcrawler.
Mm-hmm.
You know. Jetty wasn't at the show at the time that you and I were there.
Right.
But they came to the store
a few
on
days
Sunday
later,
or Monday.
because they were told that a piece had sold and they were hoping to talk to you about it, but you weren't in.
I wasn't in. And they were asking where it's going to go in the store. And honestly, I don't know. Somewhere.
Yeah, we'll figure it out. We got a few weeks before it's going to be in the store's possession.
It's funny because there's plenty of places it could go in my home, but I'm like, oh no, I guess it kind of has to go in the store, at least until they see it hanging in the store.
Sure, yeah, that makes sense.
I had joked that we would pull down the lit DC sign for Batman, Joker, Deadly Duo. I'm like, we don't need that thing hanging up. We'll just get rid of that whole sign and put Nightcrawler over there. We will not be doing that though.
No.
Yeah, so it's a good show, and it's fun to see those kind of interpretations of classic characters or newer characters or lesser used characters.
Yeah, lesser used is more interesting to me because it's, you'll see a ton of Batmans and Supermans and Spider-Mans and stuff like that, but honestly, like the Sunspot piece was like, wow, Sunspot. Who would have thought to paint Sunspot, but someone did. And it was
really
cool.
Good piece.
And that stuff is I mean, the sort of niche...
Was that Kaya who we were talking to?
I don't remember. No, she had done the Festos piece.
I don't think that was Kai. I think that was someone else.
Okay. I mean, I don't remember the woman's name who did the Festos piece, but she was who we were talking to.
Yeah, right. We were talking to... while you were talking to Kyle, I was talking to... Well, when we first got there, we talked to, I think, the Sunspot artist. And then later was...
that.
Yeah. Boy, I'm really bad at remembering new people's names. It's everywhere. It's club members. It's servers and restaurants.
We talked before about how difficult it is to identify a lot of new club members because we don't have that introductory experience where it's like we hand them a sign-up sheet, they fill it out, we look it over, we talk to them about their list or our rules or how they found challengers and all that sort of stuff. There's all that like really crucial stuff that allows you to take a face, give it a name, and lock it in your brain.
And apply it to a specific interaction that you had.
To have like a little story about them, something in your brain that allows you to understand and retain information. This is just, someone will come in and it's like, do you need something? Oh, you're a subscriber now because you signed up online and we never met you. Oh, God. Okay, hello. Welcome to Challengers.
There's a newer club member who was in, and at that point, I did not know that they were a club member.
Yeah.
And they came to the counter. I'm like, yeah, go ahead. What can I do for you? Yeah, I've got a subscription.
And
you need to give me more than that. A couple of hundred people have subscriptions.
Sure. And I mean, eventually we want to be in a position where you don't have to do that.
Right.
Where you walk in and we're like, oh, I know them. Here's their books. They can go look at the shelves now. They don't have to wait around. But nowadays, with the amount of people that are signing up via Managed Comics, it's going to take a few visits, on a regular basis for me to be able to go, yes, I know who you are. Here's your stuff, ready to go.
I mean, the jerk in me wants to go, hey, that's great, me too, thanks. And go back to what I was doing.
Don't do that.
There was somebody in recently, I can't remember who they were. They're not a new club member, but the newish club member.
Okay.
They're like, I can't believe you remember my name every time. And I just wanted to say, you've been shopping here for like a year.
Yeah. It's kind of
I better.
If you come in a couple dozen times at least, we should know who you are.
Yeah, for real.
That's the limit where it's like, if you're every 2 weeks for a year minimum, I should definitely know your first name and last name on site. But yeah, it's the people who come in irregularly or they're on their first or second or third visit, and it's like, that's going to take me a while.
There's a couple of people who I don't recognize, but I recognize their spouse who comes to get their books for them.
Yes.
So, yeah. When they actually come in, I'll be like, I don't know who you are.
Yeah.
But it's a good problem to have,
Certainly, yeah. I mean, it's something we want to get better at, but it's great that people keep signing up.
Yeah, you just don't, unless you specifically look over the club member or subscriber activity field in Managed Comics to get a feel for what people are adding, people are dropping.
Yeah.
It's harder to really put it all together in a formula or in a way that makes you think when you're ordering, oh, this book is on the rise, this book is falling off.
For sure.
Otherwise, it's just looking at the shelf, but then you're still, it's not quite the same.
No.
We've talked before about, I should stop saying that. We've talked before about everything.
Everything. 611 episodes, Patrick.
Right? Certain books that are coming out now, for example, Batman Spawn, for example, Death of Superman, arguably have a longer shelf life than a new issue of Captain America Sentinel of Liberty.
Yes.
But are we taking that into account? Are we looking at a book like Death of Superman 30th Anniversary, which is a high price $11 one-shot
minimum,
which breaks our rule, our pricing rule of anything over $10 is a graphic novel?
Not anymore.
Nope, that is an $11 single-issue comic.
Yes.
But that's the kind of thing that would probably be beneficial to have on the shelf for the holidays.
Yeah, but I never want to risk it.
Right.
I mean, we order non-returnable. It's one thing to say, like, oh, we should get a bunch extra, and then in a couple months, if they don't sell, we'll send them back. We order non-returnable. So
Well, but I mean-
an $11 comic, if we sell out, we sell out.
Wasn't that one returnable?
I don't remember if Death of Superman was.
Okay.
It might have been. In which case, I mean, we still ordered a ton.
But my point is
We ordered a lot of Death of Superman.
that the return window for that would close before Christmas. Regardless.
I don't know if that's true.
End of the month?
I don't
month
remember.
later?
I don't remember when DC has their windows. That's a more of a Molly Jane question, unfortunately. I usually know when stuff is returnable when I do FFCs, and then I don't think about it because Molly's the one who pulls all of the returnable books.
Yeah, it's funny because I had a very specific structure for the way I would handle returns.
Yeah.
But her way of doing it is different,
Okay.
and it makes me a little nervous we're going to miss things.
I don't think we have yet.
Well, we haven't, and it's just me,
Right.
you know.
Yeah.
But I still, as we get closer to the, basically the difference is I return it as soon as the window opens. She waits until it's about to close to make sure we get every possible sale.
Yeah, so if someone needs a copy of something, or if like we lucked out on Rogues Gallery, the Image comic book, because we had a ton left of issue 1. It was returnable. She put it in the box in the back, and then they announced a movie deal or an Amazon deal or some sort of adaptation deal, and suddenly we had a bunch of people online who needed 5 copies. It's like, well, we actually had 15 copies in stock, so that worked out. And that's stuff we would have just sent back for, half of cover. Instead, we got to sell it for full cover price.
That always harkens me back to, I think, the second ever C2E2 when, what was that Robert Kirkman, Sean Martinborough detective book?
Thief of Thieves,
where we had a blowout rack
We had like 30 copies of that book.
of single issue Image books for that show.
Uh-huh.
And they had just announced a thing, and
Like-
one guy bought
like
all of
that
them.
morning.
Yeah. And this guy bought every single copy he had, and whatever happened with that.
Yeah. Oh, they had a writer's room, and they were gonna no.
Yeah.
It never became a TV show. I mean, who cared about Oblivion Song or Outcast or Super Dinosaur or?
That said, you
We'll
said
see.
Oblivion Song, and Chroma is out this week, and it's by
the artist
the artist. I forget his first name, but it's Di Felici's
Lorenzo. I believe
Lorenzo Di Felici.
It's a good name.
And
It's a good artist name. You know?
I really enjoyed Chroma, and
Did you?
it plays with color a lot because it's a world where color is
good.
outlawed.
That's great. That's a good
Yeah.
concept.
And it's about a young girl who's trapped in a high room in a castle, and a younger guard who is starting to question all of the rules.
Every artist wants to do fantasy stuff now. Did you notice that?
Yeah. But at least and this is the first time that Lorenzo is writing a book in
English
in America
for an English audience.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I enjoyed it. It's coming out, and it's funny because we talked last week a lot about new Image books we're excited for, new books in general we're excited for.
Yeah. All Against All.
And I feel like, wait, you know what? Fine. You had to bring up All Against All.
I did.
Fine.
Hello, my name's Alex Packnadell. I'm a British writer, and I've been told that the English accent is calm and authoritative. So here I am, calmly and authoritatively asking you to pick up All Against All #1 on December 7th. It's the first in a new Image comic series by myself and Caspar Wingard, which can probably best be described as Alien meets Tarzan. It's a fun book, it's extremely violent, and of course you can pick it up from Challengers Comics in Chicago, and if you come in, you'll probably see my signature on the wall somewhere. It's a fantastic store, and I can't wait to come back and visit. Thanks very much.
There it is. The calm and authoritative voice of Alex Packnadell.
How nice of him to do that.
Thanks, Alex.
What a pal.
Right?
What a pal, Nadal.
I don't... It's Pattendow. That's what it is. Alex Pattendow.
Alex Pattendow.
Yeah. I don't know if I can repeat this, but I will.
You will.
Because I think it's just a joke.
Stop you?
I think it was a joke, and I just ran with it. Mm-hmm. When I was asking him to do that, I had said, just do a quick little intro to the book or introduce yourself as Leanna Kangas' best friend or whatever. And he said, I will not mention Leanna, we're feuding right now.
Oh, no.
And I said, oh, yeah, I get it.
Keep it kayfabe.
We're feuding as well. Because she's all, now that my brother doesn't live in Chicago, I've got no reason to visit.
Yeah, right.
We're the reason, Leanna.
Yeah.
You come visit us.
We'll go get breakfast again.
But anyway, he didn't elaborate, so I don't know if it was a joke or not. But I took it as a joke. Because it seemed like a joke.
I mean, usually if someone is seriously feuding with someone, they don't say, I'm feuding with someone.
Maybe next week, I'll reach out to Leanna to say, hey, can you give us like a 30-minute voice clip as to why you hate Alex? I will definitely not do that.
This podcast needs more subplots.
So the thing about Alex Paknadel being on the episode is the FOC is this weekend.
It is.
So patrons will have heard him do his pitch for All Against All when they can still order it. Mm-hmm. Everybody else will have just missed the window.
Yeah, but keep in mind we will be stocking plenty of copies for the shelf.
Oh yeah, we're very excited for it.
Maybe not of every cover, but
his quick pitch.
Yeah.
Aliens meets Tarzan.
Yep, that's Image's quick pitch too. I guess I got it from him.
Okay. We were saying Predator meets Tarzan.
Predator meets Tarzan.
Yeah.
Basically, aliens getting hunted by a predator, and the predator is a man.
Yeah. So the point of that was we had all these books last week we were going to talk about and say good things about. We did talk about and say good things. I didn't read any PDFs of any advanced books at all this week.
No, I mean, not to peek behind the curtain too much, but we're recording a day early this week, and usually Friday is when all of the PDFs drop.
Yeah.
From like Boom and other places.
Sure.
It's Thursday night. Like the only PDFs that got sent out from Image are ones that we already read. I think.
We are recording early because myself and 3 other challengers are all busy tomorrow night going to see literally a bucket list entertainer of mine who
Jack Kirby
is a comic book fan because on Series 7 of Taskmaster, he frequently wore the same Avengers shoes that I have.
Oh, wow.
You know, the ones that represent all the Avengers at once?
Did they bring him good luck?
No, I think he came in second to last.
Ooh.
Yeah, it's hard for me to believe that was literally half Taskmaster ago because they're on season 14 right now.
Wow.
But I think season 7 is still my favorite season. And
do you think it's because of him?
A lot of it's because of him.
Sure.
But also, I mean, everybody was it was such a great season. Mm-hmm. This season, however, season 14 may be a contender for best season.
Wow.
It's pretty great. But anyway, we're going to see James Acaster.
Yay.
Who is incredibly funny, and I never thought he would be touring. After his last tour and special, Cold as Anya, Hate Myself, 1999, he basically said, yeah, I'm done doing stand-up. He had his...
transitioned fully to panel
show host, yeah, or sure. Guest. Well, he did Repertoire, which is on Netflix, and it's worth seeing because it's 4 completely different specials.
Oh, cool.
Where it's a different gimmick. He's an undercover cop.
Oh, okay.
And it's different stories each time.
That's cool.
But Cold Lasagna was fully about his life. Mm-hmm. And it's a lot about mental health and depression.
Is that available someplace for people to watch?
Yes, but you have to pay for it.
Oh. Well, where do people pay for it at?
Vimeo. It's on Vimeo.
Okay.
That's where I bought mine from.
There you go.
There's clips on YouTube, but it's excellent. Anyway, he'd said, like, I've got nothing left to say as far as stand-up goes. He has a book out now called, I don't remember what it's called, but it's about quitting social media.
Okay.
And he's a wonderful, wonderful book called James Acaster's Classic Scrapes, where he just has the best stories. And he's got he fully believes that 2016 was the best year in music.
Interesting.
Hands down, and he's bought as pretty much every album he could find from that year. And he has a podcast called Perfect Sound Whatever, where each week it's a different guest and a different album.
Okay. Where
he assigns them an album, they listen to it, and then they talk about it.
Oh, okay.
And then at the end of each episode, he asks that person if, based on that album and that album alone, they can say that 2016 was the best year for music in the history of music.
Wow.
And they always say no.
Yeah, that's a tough thing to do with an album someone made you listen to.
It's also a tough podcast because unless you pay for the rights for the music, you can't play it. So they're talking about a thing that you, the listener, can't hear.
Do they tell you in advance what the next episode is going to be so you can listen to that album in advance and be like, oh, let me familiarize myself with this album from 2016?
And it's as big as like, oh, it's Frank Ocean, or it's as obscure as ska bands you've never heard of.
Sure, 311.
But anyway, this tour is, from my understanding, it's just crowd work.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's just
so
him.
He's not coming with prepared material. He's
Correct.
just like, let's just have a fun night together.
Yeah.
That's great.
Yeah. Very excited. And I know that's not comic book related. It is comic related, though.
It is comic related, yeah.
So I slid in. But also that's why we're recording a day early, because Samantha and Gina and Lizzie and I will all be doing that. And I'm slowly working my way through as many Taskmaster guests as possible I can see live. Noel Fielding was a couple years ago, also with Gina and Lizzie. And then earlier this year was Russell Howard with Lizzie, and it was my favorite live stand-up show ever.
That's great.
And then we've got James Acaster tomorrow. And then Tuesday, Sarah Millican, who's
great.
currently on Taskmaster right now.
Wow. And she just took a jet to Chicago, and then she's going to go right back to Taskmaster.
She didn't take it. Yeah, it's Tuesday.
But she's going
Tuesday. Yeah. Look, I don't care how she gets there.
Okay. Maybe she'll bring that up in her stand-up.
Maybe she will. Yeah. I love Taskmaster so much.
You do. It's great.
And comics. Comics are pretty good, too. One of the things I feel bad about when we do our videos on Tuesday nights is oftentimes we haven't read the books, but we're trying to go off of what we've heard or seen reviews.
This week especially, the scheduling really boned us because we record them Tuesday right when we close, but we didn't get our DC books for the week until Tuesday afternoon.
I was already back and unpacking Diamond before.
Yeah. So
and usually we get DC like the Wednesday or Thursday the week before.
Right. Yeah, I mean, technically, DC books go on sale on Tuesdays. We don't put them on the shelves until Wednesday, but yeah, we didn't get them in until well into their on-sale date because of when they were shipped out. Marvel stuff, we got in Monday, but I was busy Monday night and only was able to read a couple books. Fantastic Four, which I ended up talking about, I think. So yeah, I mean, like, usually for the videos, we can't read the Diamond stuff yet because we're busy unpacking it. We don't have time to read it. So unless we got a PDF preview, we can't really recommend
stuff. For example,
stuff knowledgeably.
This week we both recommended Gospel because we both got to read Gospel ahead of time.
Yeah, and of course we'll recommend, All Against All when it comes out in a few weeks. But we're usually kind of locked into, like, the DC books, probably the Marvel books, unless something weird happens Monday night and I can't read them. And then whatever previews we've gotten from the various independent publishers that we get in on Tuesday. Everything else is kind of a leap of faith where it's like, this looks like it could be good, or this is maybe something you should check out, rather than, I read it, it's good, you're going to love it.
But I find myself late Tuesday nights, let's just say early Wednesday morning, when I finish reading my comics for the day, thinking, oh man, I really like this book and I didn't really talk about it. Or
it's a shame.
Like, I had pitched Specs this week, but I hadn't read it, and I had the
Specs
premise...
was real good.
Specs was real good, but I had the premise kind of wrong. It's not a X-ray glasses that are haunted. It's magical wishing glasses where the wishes come true to an extent.
And it's like a Stephen King sort of thing, where it's this really cool, like, teen 80s thing that goes completely sideways and gets, like, weird and supernatural and terrifying.
Yeah. And I didn't really present that when I was talking about it, because I hadn't read it. I just read it, and at the time I had mentioned Two Graves. I just said what Molly Jane had told me about it, because I hadn't read it.
Right.
Then I read it and enjoyed it.
Okay.
And I almost feel like doing a new video late at night, but let's face it, I usually read the books after I've worked out for the night, which is, I always work out way too late in the day. And I'm just sitting in my sweaty workout clothes with my hair like plastered on my head.
I mean,
I'm like,
it's
not the best time to do a video
when
for
you were
it.
talking about this, I'm like, how could we do a follow-up one? And it's like, well, the time doesn't really work because, like, ideally we would do it like Wednesday morning when we got to the store before we opened, but we don't get there that early, and the amount of time it would take you to format it and upload it and do all that stuff, like, that's our busiest hour of the day.
Yeah, of the week.
Like this,
well, customer-wise, yeah.
Sure. But, like, that means that you wouldn't be able to actually upload the video in a way that you would be comfortable with.
Or that would be helpful to people.
Until the afternoon, which means it wouldn't be helpful to anybody. Well, I mean, it would and it wouldn't. I don't know.
I mean, it still worked. There were people that messaged and said, "Hey, please save me 2 graves."
Sure, that's cool.
Next week we're going to have to do the next week a little different setup.
I figured.
You know how it goes.
I do.
How does it go now? Explain it.
Oh, it goes well.
Oh man, I'm only at 8 hours of standing.
Oh no.
Well, that's what happens when you're in a movie theater for 3 hours.
Yeah. Seeing
and then driving an hour to get there.
Wakanda Forever.
Yes, we saw Black Panther: Wakanda Forever right before this recording.
Yeah.
And thoroughly enjoyed it.
Yeah, I thought it was real fun.
It's way more of a superhero action movie than I thought it was going to be.
Yeah, I mean, for me, it was very much still like it's the whole movie's a grieving process, basically.
Yeah,
it's just making a piece of art out of
reasons. What?
They lost Chadwick Boseman. Let's talk about that in a film.
Wait, I saw him in that movie.
I think the opening, the Marvel Studios credit sequence, I think was the one that they did when he passed, and they put it on all the Disney Plus stuff.
Did they?
For like a week.
Okay, I don't remember having seen that.
I think that it looked familiar.
It felt way more somber than the Stan Lee one did. The Stan Lee one felt like
a
fun celebration.
Yeah.
And this one felt like, pin drop quiet in the theater.
Stan Lee was a very old man. Chadwick Boseman was taken too soon.
Oh yeah. We also ran into good subscribers and patrons, Drew and Ashley,
and occasional drinking buddies.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, and helpful construction.
That's true.
People
very good at building calyxes.
Exactly. And hanging blinds.
Yeah. It sounded like they had a good time with it.
Yeah, I think so.
I'd be surprised if anyone came in and said that they watched it and they didn't enjoy it. I don't think it's going to be the type of Marvel movie like a Shang-Chi or a Black Widow or a Thor Love and Thunder where it's like, maybe you like it, maybe you don't. It's got some issues.
Only a mid-credit scene, no end-credit scene,
yes.
if you're wondering.
Yes.
But we were talking about this on the way home. There's no good book to point people to if they come in saying, give me that story in comic form.
Yeah, I mean, it very much was something that, had they gone with the original Chadwick Boseman version, it might have been something that was closer to what was in the comics, but in general, like, so much of it is about a real-world thing that happened to the people making the movie that's so much...
The Thanos blip.
Exactly.
That's what you mean, right?
Climate change. And so much of that is fed back into the movie that they took the bits and pieces they needed from comics to support their story about grieving the death of Chadwick Boseman. Like, there isn't really a comic for this. That said, you know, we have in the store, and we'll have more copies soon of some of the Shuri Solo stuff. Ironheart. There really isn't a Namor thing that we can point people towards.
No. And also, there wouldn't be, because this iteration of Namor is so different than the comics.
It is, it's true. But I mean, in general, there really isn't a good Namor solo thing. Like, that would be even close to the Marvel Cinematic Universe version.
Right.
Because it's, like, what are you going to point people towards? The John Byrne version? That's not this at all.
No. It's very funny, because when he introduces himself, he specifically has an origin for his name, and it's pronounced Namor, which means no love, and apostrophe amour. It's very French, but also Haitian.
It is, it's true.
But everybody immediately starts calling him Namor, which is what
they're calling him that before he explains where his name came from, and then afterwards. So it's like, for all the people that over 80 years have been arguing about if it's Namor or Namor, this movie says yes.
That's right. When I was younger, I thought he was the submariner.
Yes.
If you don't hear the word mariner, you know what that means.
There's a lot.
But also, it's a guy who swims underwater like a submarine does. So he's a submariner.
Well, there's a lot of names like that for comics. Magneto.
Yeah, exactly.
Was a long-running one where people couldn't quite
Polaris.
Yeah,
that's not one.
That's not one either.
No.
Yeah. Wakanda
Xavier,
Forever.
X-Xavier.
Yeah. X-Avier. Wakanda Forever was
good.
I'm
sorry if anybody's like, that's a spoiler about Namor's name. Sorry.
Yeah.
No other spoilers other than it's a
movie you can go see it in theaters.
Yeah. Although, according to the DJs on the way home, it opens tomorrow. Which is weird. We just saw it. We saw it at 3 o'clock.
We did. I like seeing movies that big at like 3 in the afternoon on a Thursday. It feels less stressful, you know?
A couple of weeks ago, Gina texted me. She was at Target, and they had the Wakanda Forever Ironheart figure.
A boxed Ironheart
A box
figure.
sign. Well, they're all box figures now, Dal.
Sure,
You
but
meant
this one's
oversized.
This one specifically because she comes with a bunch of accessories.
And Gina's like, hey, do you want one? And I'm like, nah, I'm not interested.
Then you saw the movie.
I do have an Ironheart figure. It's basically just her slender Iron Man armor.
Okay.
But then I saw the movie, and luckily there's a Target across the street, so we stopped by for other things. And they still had some Ironheart, so I got one. So I should have said yes, Gina. I should have said yes all along.
The actress who played Riri Williams was great. I've done that before with action figures. I remember seeing Black Widow. And that night I'm like, oh, I think we have a Yelena Belova figure still at the store. It doesn't look like Florence Pugh, but it's like, that character is so fun, and that actor is so good, that I'm like, I gotta have the action figure. And I still religiously check toy sites waiting for, like, SH Figuarts to do one that actually looks like Florence Pugh. But maybe...
Don't worry, Dal, there's a new Yelena Belova figure coming out from Marvel Legends. They just announced this week.
Yeah, comic book one. The J.G. Jones one. The
masked
Hampton,
one.
Scott Hampton? Bo Hampton?
But the Hamptons.
But they'll be doing another MCU Yelena Belova figure, either for a Disney Plus wave or Thunderbolts wave.
For sure, yeah.
So hopefully at that point they will actually have a body and a face that looks like Florence Pugh. That would be great. As a fan, that would be great.
Scarlet Witch body with a different head.
Yes.
I'm sorry, I meant to say Scarlett Johansson. I said Scarlet Witch.
You did. Yeah, the MCU Yelena Belova Black Widow figure is not even close. Not even close. But better than nothing, so I bought it. With my very weird selection of Marvel Legends figures that includes Silver Centurion Iron Man, Quasar, Black Costume Spider-Man, House of X Wolverine, the Scott McDaniel Armored Daredevil, and a long shot that's going to get replaced by a much better long shot real soon.
Greetings, Contest of Challengers listeners. My name is Don Cardenas, and I am the host of the Comics Coffee Metal podcast, where I talk to creatives in, around, and about the worlds of, you guessed it, comics, coffee, and metal. I've had such amazing guests on my show, like Steens, Daniel Warren Johnson, Matthew Allison, Liana Kangas, Mike Norton, Taylor Danley, Andrew Baina, and of course, Challenger's own, Patrick Brower. You can find the podcast by simply going to comicscoffeemetal.com, where there will be links to all your favorite podcast platforms, including Apple Music, Spotify, Google Play, and many more. I hope to see you there, and now I return you to the absolute best comic book retailers in the multiverse, Patrick Brower and W. Dal Bush.
Can we talk about the Managed Comics thing? Why the tile's delayed?
Yeah, I think Brian had talked about it in the Thought Stream, so we might be a little general here, but...
I know that he gave Brian Hibbs permission to post some of the stuff around.
The long and short of it, for people who are unfamiliar with the specific Managed Comics thing we're talking about, we've, as a store, been waiting on the Managed Comics Order Helper tile, which is an integration for Shopify POS that allows Managed Comics subscriptions to be added to a cart on Shopify POS. Currently, and for the last year, we at Challengers have needed to do like a hack, which is why if you've come in for your subscriptions anytime in 2022, that takes a while, and we hate that. The Managed Comics Order Helper tile is the thing that will automate that process and allow us to have a conversation with you, and also for you to get out of the store in a reasonable amount of time. Especially if you have a large stack of stuff. It will no longer take 15 minutes, or what feels like 15 minutes. So the problem is Managed Comics had submitted the Order Helper tile to Shopify to approve and then get pushed out to the Shopify App Store so that stores like us can download it and use it. That all has to be approved by Shopify.
Hooray! Oh, wait, no, we don't have it yet.
Shopify's been terrible because Shopify has very weird restrictions that they will occasionally deploy.
Very weird restrictions.
With no warning whatsoever. So
no warning whatsoever.
A thing that you've already adhered to their rules.
Already adhered to... Oh, sorry.
You'll suddenly find out that you have not adhered to a new rule that they've introduced since you've submitted your app. And that's the thing that Managed Comics has been dealing with. One of the funniest things is that they had a denial from Shopify because the screenshot they had included for the App Store page included personal information. So they needed to get rid of that. The personal information was to show subscribers like Clark Kent, Bruce Wayne, Diana Prince, and then Bruce Wayne at managedcomics.com, Clark Kent at managecomics.com. And it's like, these are not real people with real names and real email addresses. These are comic book characters. But Shopify's like, no, it's personal information.
And then didn't they use the Shopify logo in one of their
I think they might have, and that was a no-go.
You can't use Shopify's logo in this, but it's a Shopify add-on.
And there's a whole loopy thing about them not adhering to a requirement that was only introduced after they submitted the app, which means they couldn't adhere to it until it was denied. My favorite one, though, is the Shopify POS is a thing you can only run on an iPad or an iOS device or an Android device. You can't run it on a computer or through like a Chrome instance. It can only be on like a tablet or a phone. Shopify kicked back the Managed Comics Order Helper tile because they didn't include screenshots of using it on a website. And it's like, there is no website for it because Shopify didn't make that. POS is only through devices. But it's at that point you're just like, this is never going to happen. Like, nope. I believe that Brian and his team will keep trying and pushing it through, but it's like, these rejections are getting more and more absurd and unworkable. So it's like, who knows? Maybe tomorrow. Maybe I wake up tomorrow and there's an email from Managed Comics saying, hey, it's approved, we're ready to go. But this is a thing where, like, weeks ago it was like, any day now, it's completely fine, it's ready to go. I've seen Brian using it on thought streams.
Yeah.
Very excited for us to finally get a hold of it and start streamlining our subscription checkout process, especially as we're coming into the holiday months and things are going to get a lot more backed up at the register on certain times of day. Yeah, would love for that to happen. I'm sure Brian and his team are even more frustrated than we are that this has not happened yet, and they are doing everything they can. But it's still darkly humorous to hear these stories about how insane Shopify is. When Brian had emailed me, I submitted something else to Managed Comics Help, and he'd responded and said, hey, by the way, here's what's going on with the order helper tile. The only thing I could send back was like, Shopify's the worst. Like, that's all I got. I can't even commiserate anymore because it's like, do you want me to say the 8 things Shopify did this week to us that I hate?
Yeah. Yeah, definitely.
What's the point?
Oh, my goodness. Soon, though.
Yeah.
We're very excited.
Hopefully very soon. We are very excited to get a hold of it and very excited to make things a lot easier on our subscribers when they come in to get their books.
That's what we try to do for everything. Make it easier on subscribers. By telling them which books we liked, by sending out weekly emails about what they have on hold. There's always the people that don't get the emails, don't read the emails, ask questions like that was in the email that we just sent you.
Yep.
But that's always going to be the case.
No, yeah, there's no getting around that.
Yeah, there's no...
you send out 300-something emails, that's what's going to happen.
It's still the whole... you call someone to say a book is in, they don't answer, you leave a message. The minute you call back and say, yeah, you called? Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I left a message. Go listen to it.
Yep.
I had to waste my time doing it.
Yep.
You got to waste your time listening to it. No, I'm not just going to tell you what I said. I love it when it's a different person, because there's multiple people who work at the store. Mm-hmm. And let's say you call and leave a message, then the phone rings and I answer, and someone just goes, yeah, you called? Not like, hey, this is Brian.
Right. Yeah, I mean...
yeah, you called? And I just say, no, I didn't.
I've had that happen a bunch of times, and the worst version is when I'm calling like 6 people.
Yeah.
And then 10 minutes later someone calls, and it's like, you got to help me narrow it down. I just called a lot of people. Like, who are you? I did not just call you.
Also, you left a message.
I did. I always leave a message.
Always leave a message. It's fine. We're never going to change.
No, that's been a nuisance for 20-something years.
It's almost comical how it's such a regular thing.
Yeah.
Just like having to clean out the hold box is a regular thing where, we don't, unless it's a statue or something of a higher value, we don't take money down when somebody asks us to get a thing, but...
I kind of wish I'd done that after we had to order 2 copies of Above Snakes #4 and neither person came in for theirs.
Oh, man.
Yup.
Man.
Yep. 2 extra copies for the shelf now of issue 4.
Would you say that it's 50% or higher of people that don't pick up?
That's around there. I don't know that I could break it down. It's one of the things that we've stopped doing is we don't leave open special orders for as long as we used to. It used to be a thing where we'd keep them open for a year or 2, and so if we found a book finally, we'd call you up and we'd let you know. But by that point, phone numbers change. People move out of town. Someone just doesn't need it anymore. Someone doesn't know why they ever asked for it.
Yeah.
So now it's like a few months, and most comics, we will tell you right off the bat, yes, we can get it. No, we can't. We don't take nearly as many special orders for books that we know are unavailable or not being reprinted. Like, then we just say, no, we can't get it.
One of the things we do say to somebody is, all right, we're going to keep looking for you. We'll, it's not readily available at our distributor. We're going to look around. We'll ask some other stores.
All we ask is,
if you find it in the meantime, or you don't need it anymore, please let us know.
Yep, that's it.
They don't.
Nope.
I would say maybe, and I'm being generous, 10% of the time, someone will be like, "Oh, I don't need the book anymore."
Yeah, that's generous.
Yeah, and by that I mean they go out of their way to contact us, not when we call them to say, "Oh, we have it."
Right.
And have them say, "Oh no, I don't need it anymore."
No, 90% is the one where we call them up if they don't need it because they got it already and they never told us.
I mean, this is getting off that topic, but it's the same as the, "Hey, you haven't been to get your books for a while." "Oh no, I moved." You didn't tell us you moved.
Yeah, that doesn't happen a lot anymore. But we had, that's happened plenty of times in 15 years where a subscriber just suddenly stops coming in, and then we find out, because they moved and they never told us. Like, why? You were coming in here every other week. Why would you not, as you were moving and leaving town, why would you not think, oh, my books are still going to keep showing up?
Yeah.
Did you think the books were just going to know that you moved? They don't. They're books.
We've only had one instance of an active subscriber passing away
that we know
and having
of.
a family member contact us and say, "Oh, they died." That's what I meant.
Oh, sure.
I'm sure a lot of former club members have died, but an active subscriber who was regularly coming in-ish, we found out that they passed away. But there's a couple now. Whenever it gets to be a couple of weeks, we're like, "Do you think they died?" It's terrible.
I mean, it's
a viable concern.
I guarantee you, every comic shop that has a subscription program has that fear for a couple subscribers where it's like, oh God, I hope they didn't not come in because something's happened.
Yeah. But that's morbid.
We
should just be celebrating the joy of comics and comic-related movies and how comics are so much more in the public consciousness than ever before. At least the characters are.
Yeah.
When is so it's 3 months until Ant-Man.
Yeah.
What about Secret Invasion? When does that start?
I don't know.
It's not this year, though.
I don't think maybe they could sneak it out. With streaming stuff, it's always kind of tricky because they can kind of just start it whenever they want.
Yeah. It's just weird that we had...
I would assume January.
So many back-to-back Marvel shows.
We did. That was the weirdest thing when She-Hulk ended. It's like, oh, what's the next one? The Guardians...
Andor! What?
The Guardians holiday thing. Like, that's it.
Which I had zero interest in, but the trailer looks really fun.
It's a good trailer.
Yeah. Definitely will see that. Speaking of holidays,
Is Footloose still the greatest movie ever made? It never was.
We were talking earlier today about the Christmas books for this year. And by that we mean what we think will be the biggest gift sellers.
Yeah.
We only came up with one, really.
I wasn't really thinking about it. I was just, we were mentioning, I'd mentioned to you that Fantastic Four Full Circle is going to be back in stock. We were getting a bunch more copies from one of our distributors. And you had said that was probably going to be a really strong holiday gift recommendation. And I agreed because it's $25 is a really good price point. It's a nice physical package. It's a done-in-one book. It's Alex Ross, who has a lot of fans but doesn't necessarily have a lot of books that people can buy on a regular basis. Yeah, there's definitely other ones that I think have come out or are coming out really soon. I mentioned the Batman Spawn hardcover. I think that's going to go really well. A lot of people are going to want to pick that up because they never read those books.
It's been 30 years since those books have been in print.
Sure, and never all in one that I know of. Shuna's Journey that we just got in, which is a Hayao Miyazaki graphic novel. I think that's going to be one that people are going to casually see and be like, oh, yes. I'm trying to think of other stuff that's maybe come out recently that we could maybe...
I can't visualize the front table.
I mean, there's stuff, some that we don't necessarily have as many in stock as we did a few weeks ago. But Kate Beaton's Ducks is probably a thing we should get a bunch more of. Front table.
Don't cover your mouth.
I was going to keep it not covered when I actually had something to say.
Okay.
Human Target, book 1. Not a great one necessarily because it's half a story.
Same thing with Dark Knights of Steel, half a story.
Right. Yeah.
They're both good-looking books.
There's definitely going to be other books, and we'll probably start to It's easier to shape what the recommendations are once you start hearing what people are kind of asking for, what stuff we need to steer them towards. Because once you get a few of those in a row, you're like, oh, the next person who asks about Star Wars, I'm going to say this one or whatever.
Yeah.
But it's not super clear what the big stuff or the big asks are going to be yet.
If they were out in time, it would be books like Do a Power Bomb or 8 Billion Genies, stuff like that.
Yeah.
Those are more of a sell for us. You know, people don't come in looking for them.
I don't know that either one of those would necessarily be the thing that when someone came in and they're like, I need something for someone who liked this movie or that movie. Like,
it's always Batman. Just say Batman.
It's probably Batman. I need a Batman thing. Okay, here's Batman the Imposter, probably, because it's by one of the guys who's working on the screenplay for the next one. There you go.
And that's why we sold a bunch of the Gotham City cocktail book last Christmas.
Yeah. I mean, that's just fun. Like,
that's also, hey, Batman fan?
Sure.
Are they adult? They don't have this book.
Right.
Here you go.
Yeah. And that's the kind of thing that works especially well on people who are quote unquote Batman fans, who are not steeped in it and collect a ton of stuff. Casual fans, casual Bat fans.
Casual Bat fans, raging alcoholics. It's the same thing, right?
Well, they'll become raging alcoholics once they have a good cocktail book.
Well, that plus their parents died in Crime Alley, so there's only two ways to get over it. You travel the world and learn from the best assassins and killers and thieves and martial artists you can find, or you drink yourself into stupor every night.
Sure.
I know what I would do. In fact, I think I'll go drink right now.
Oh, no.
This is the end of this episode for you, Dalbush.
Okay. Bye.
But not for the episode.
Keep reading comics.
Right now, in downtown Skokie, it is the Aw Yeah Comics 10th and a half year anniversary party, and I am inside Aw Yeah Comics, and I'm with store manager Joe Crone. Joe, welcome to the Contest of Challengers podcast.
What? Really? This is it?
Yeah, I mean, we're not obviously doing a whole one, but I didn't tell him what was happening. I just pulled out my phone. So, hey, say hello.
Hello? Yagums.
That stands for you're a good man, sir.
Oh, you're not supposed to tell people.
Really? He tells everybody.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
It's fine. I can edit that out. I won't. So anyway, Joe, you've been in charge of the store for a while now, and we've been standing here talking about comics retail for a good minute, and I thought, you know what? This is actually not necessarily good content, because we never know. We're not the judges of good content on this podcast. Sure. But we are a store in Chicago. You are a store in Skokie. We are neighboring stores. We've always been friends of the store. I recall early days of Challengers when both Brother Bear Mark Hammond and Art were talking to me privately about the idea of Aw Yeah Comics without the other person knowing that they were telling me. So I feel like I had a good little insight before it was going on.
That checks out.
But now you are, well, as far as Aw Yeah goes, you're the man.
Yeah.
How does it feel to be the man?
Complex. A lot of thoughts go into that. That's a loaded question.
Sure, and that's why it's more fun for me not to tell you what I'm going to ask you.
Okay. It feels good one moment, and then scary the next moment.
Oh, that sounds like retail to me, my
then
friend.
Exhilarating the next moment, and then rage.
Now you're speaking my language.
I didn't know
Now
I had
get
this
it.
inside of me. Even working in restaurants for 20 years, it's a mutated version.
Okay, so that's good. I was going to ask for your secret origin as far as being a comic fan, and then how you got to this store in particular.
Being a comic fan. My brother and I have been selling comics since we were 11 years old.
Is your brother older or younger?
My brother is older. He's sitting right over there.
The shifty-looking bastard?
Oh, yeah. Well,
Yeah,
they used to call him the scammer. Because
Oh.
we were these little bastards who'd walk into the comic shops and just be like, ha, how's it going? We're going to trade this baseball card for that comic book. And they're like, get out of here, kids. And that was it. It was awesome.
Oh, well, that sounds like a horrible business model. Don't get me wrong. Get out of here, kids, is my store motto.
So cut to 20 years later, like 10 years later, you know?
Okay.
This is like so this was like 10 years ago when I was like 10 years old. You know what I mean? Yeah. So anyway, you're good at math. Can you do the math again?
Well, yeah, what you're telling us, you're 20 years old right now, and
Cut.
I don't believe you.
Cut to Chicago, starting a group called Shadrago. It used to be called Shadrink and Kadrago,
Okay.
but nobody could say that, you know what I mean?
Yeah, it does sound a little clunky.
Shorten it to Shadrago.
Where did you used to do that? Because that's familiar to me.
In the basement of...
Okay, yeah, I thought so. Yeah. Uh-huh.
Yep, yeah.
In the vault.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's where we used to do it. And then Aftershock came along, got a job with them right before the end times. And then Mark Hammond, Brother Bear, called me, said they needed a hand. I came here to this store and lended my hand.
There you go.
Yeah, but it's awesome. I do love it. I was talking about Rage earlier. I was talking about mixed feelings, emotions, the gamut, running the gamut. But I truly do love it here. I really do.
Sure.
It's awesome. It's cool.
You have to. No one stays in comic book deal for the money. We do it because we love the comics. We love the creators.
Yeah.
We tolerate the people.
Yeah. Yeah.
Some people we love, some people we don't love, so it balances out into tolerate.
Some people surprise you, though, man. They surprise
sure.
you. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
They come in and they buy all the right things because there's wrong things to buy.
Oh, yeah.
But they come in and they're
we
like,
stock them all.
yeah, absolutely. Oh, yeah. We go out of our way to do that, actually, here at All Yeah Comics Skokie. But, yeah, you know, sometimes they actually listen to your suggestions, which is awesome. You know what I mean? It's like, I suggest this book, and then they're like, they look at it and they put it down. But sometimes they actually purchase it. That's a great feeling. But, yeah.
What's
man,
a book right now that you love?
A book that I love right
Doesn't have to
now.
be your favorite, just one book that you love.
Okay, I am liking Dark Ride.
Okay.
Josh Williamson? Josh Williamson.
yeah.
Big fan of his Nailbiter book. Thought that was awesome. I think he has a really awesome ability to create like a playground to mess around
in. He
in.
does good world building.
Yeah,
And he
absolutely.
doesn't give you everything right at the front. You got to earn it as you go.
Yep, absolutely.
Yeah. What's your pitch for Dark Ride? Because I've got one as well. I want to see how similar we are.
It's an amusement park from hell.
Yeah. Mine is, what if Walt Disney sold his soul to the devil and Disney World was a horror theme park, but the horrors are real?
Yeah, you've been doing this way too long. You're pretty good at that.
And yet, whenever I say, what if Disney sold his soul to the devil, to a person, everyone says, didn't he though?
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
So,
really?
So it's real. Yeah.
Okay.
Except it's not really Disney. I love the part where he's burying his wife and the corpse starts talking from the shallow grave in the desert.
Yeah.
That's good stuff.
Yep. Yeah, he's always he's the guy who writes the stuff you're like,
Were you a Birthright fan?
I've never read it.
Oh,
never read it.
It's the same artist as Birthright, so you
Okay.
should go back on that. Yeah.
Fantasy kind of.
Birthright is basically a dad and his kid are playing catch. The ball goes too far. The kid goes into the forest to get it. Never comes back.
Wow. Okay.
So the dad is arrested as everyone thinks he killed the kid.
Yeah.
The kid went into a portal into a magical realm, and he becomes like the chosen one. And he grows up as like the fighter of that world.
Nice.
And then this is the story of what happens when he comes back as an adult.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sold.
But like time passes very differently, so it's only been a couple years, but now he's back as this full-fledged adult, and his family is completely splintered.
Yeah.
And now he's this mature adult who is there to save them from the impending apocalypse of this other world coming in, and that is just the tip of the iceberg.
Okay. All right. Awesome.
Plenty of twists and turns because it's Josh Williamson. You know how he rolls.
Yeah. Love it. Nice. Very good. You're really good at that. You're good at selling. Selling books.
It's what we have to do. You know.
Yeah.
We have to boil it down to the essence to give someone an elevator pitch.
I gotta read more, man. That's one thing I
You don't
struggle.
have time to, because you're working with how many different distributors and just trying to get things go. Like I haven't wandered behind your counter because you've been there the whole time, so I can't just sneak there to see what you're running as far as point of sale or.
Sure. Yeah. You're welcome. You register. You just turn the key.
Oh, nice.
Fine.
Yeah, excellent.
Yeah.
It's full, right? I can just start.
Sure.
dipping
Oh, it's
into
always
it.
full. Yeah. Tons of. No, it's not. No, it's emptied out. It goes into a tube. You know what I mean? Like down.
Oh, one of those
below.
demonic tubes?
Yes,
Yeah.
yeah. So there's never any money in there. So don't even.
That's
bother.
fair.
Yeah.
Every sale goes down
Every
there.
comic in here is like.
Makes it really hard making change. No one uses cash anymore anyway.
It's good. It's good stuff.
So where is All Yeah Comics?
All Yeah Comics is in beautiful downtown Skokie, 7925 Lincoln, right across the street from the Skokie Theater.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice having a theater across the street. Do you ever just run over and get a bucket of popcorn and Raisinets?
No, I don't.
That's
no.
fair.
Yeah.
I don't think
do
they'd
not.
let you.
I don't think they have that over there.
No.
But yeah.
More reason not to go there and just to come here.
It's true.
Where can people find All Yeah Comics on social media?
I do most stuff on Instagram.
Okay.
All Yeah Comics BDS. That's what the BDS stands for. Beautiful Downtown Skokie. It transfers automatically to Facebook.
Sure.
You know what I mean?
Uh-huh.
And then kind of messing with Twitter a little bit.
All right. Don't bother.
Right. Yeah. Okay.
Just scrap that off of your social media.
Yeah, and then
playlist.
the TikTok is a real thing.
Yeah.
It's here.
And shout out to Aftershock. Any Aftershock social medias you can point to? to?
Aftershock, yes, Aftershock Comics. I do a lot on my own personal page for Aftershock Comics. Joe Crone. Everything is Joe Crone. C-R-O-H-N. Like the disease, the Crohn's disease.
That's
yeah,
good.
Yeah.
Good reference point.
You know, nobody in my family had that disease, but somebody married into my family.
I was going to ask how your intestines and your bowels were.
They're fine.
Good to know.
They're fine. Yeah. Thanks for asking.
Yeah, you bet.
How are yours?
Well, depends on the day.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. Gotcha. All right.
Chris Mitz and I had a lot of spicy Mexican food right before we came here.
That's lovely.
So we'll see what happens after this.
So the car ride home should be lots of fun.
Yep.
That's great.
Windows down for sure.
But yeah, Aftershock Comics, read dangerously, okay? Samurai Doggy is probably my new favorite book from them right now.
Nice.
First issue was great. Second issue was really weird, but I'm thinking it's gonna get to where it's getting.
All right, so I'm hoping this plays out pretty well because of all the background noise.
Yeah.
I think I'm not a good enough audio engineer to be able to silence everybody else,
sure.
But we'll give it a shot. And thank you for being not only a listener to our podcast normally, but for being a brother retailer.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Keep reading comics.
Yeah, do that.
This has been Contest of Challengers. Thanks for listening. Keep reading comics. Challengers is located at 1845 Northwestern Avenue in the Bucktown neighborhood of Chicago. 773-278-0155. Keep up to date with new releases and events at challengerscomics.com. Like Challengers Comics on Facebook, follow @Challengers on Twitter, and help fund this podcast at patreon.com/challengers.